Hello and welcome to a coming home special. England are playing in about 3 hours' time here in the UK. It's going to be 8 o'clock in Abu Dhabi. What time will it be when the game starts, OS?
11 o'clock Ayub, weather pending, thunderstorms pending, and all of that. I believe it's under a roof in Atlanta, I believe, so I don't think there'll be any of that nonsense going on. Huge amount of anticipation. Should have probably got myself a couple of hours kip, given I've got work tomorrow. But yeah, it'll be an 11 p.m. kickoff. Ayub, how is the anticipation over there?
It's really, it's ratcheting up. Great deal of excitement, and it's been fantastic. I mean, we talked about it on the last show that this is what this country needs, and it's been absolutely perfect. Obviously, there's a lot of bad news, but this is really good news. A lot of tension in the air, understandably so. There's so much at stake. I'm excited, but I'm equally nervous. I can't wait start of the game. But it's going to be such a tough game because obviously we're playing 11 players, but about 26 FIFA officials. And Infantino, obviously, I'm sure, has already had conversations with the referees. So it's going to be a difficult game, but such an exciting game. I mean, what a prize at the end of it. So exciting. Uh, I mean, certainly I'll offer my thoughts in a little while, but you offer me your thoughts. I mean, it's obviously such a huge game, but what are your thoughts? I mean, what do you reckon England's chances are against a very difficult opposition? And obviously, on top of that, there's lots of shenanigans going on in terms of Argentina and obviously what FIFA have done, or at least allegedly done, in terms of supporting their cause. So, what's your thoughts on the games? And where do you think the key to England victory is, apart from the obvious, which is Jude Bellingham?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The moment feels pretty big, I imagine, and I'm very, very keen to hear your thoughts about how it is back home, just in terms of let's say, the nervousness, the temperature of the country, so to speak, in terms of this being a huge opportunity for England to punch their ticket to a World Cup final. It does not get any bigger than this. So I guess, if they do get to the final, we'll be seeing that again
Mm.
on Sunday. But look, this is an incredible tie coming up ahead. We were treated to two heavyweights going at it yesterday, albeit some would argue it was a little bit of an anticlimax. We'll touch on that
Mm.
later. But I do think that this game, there's no doubt in my mind that it will deliver. And I think it'll deliver more on drama. Perhaps in terms of the twists and turns. Both teams have flaws. One team's obviously got arguably the greatest player in the history of the game. But England will feel as though they have a real good opportunity here to go up against a lot of players that they know well as well, given many of them have played or are currently playing in the Premier League as well, where most of at least England fraternity are plying their trade, aside from a notable few. But yeah, it's just an incredible moment, just first and foremost, just in terms of the game itself. Semi-finals World Cup, are you? England, Argentina. I mean, can you imagine? It just feels massive. Yesterday, when the game was kicking off, I text my brothers that this felt like a heavyweight clash. You saw Mbappe walking out of. They have this wonderful thing, American sports. They dramatize. I say American sports, as in at least American TV coverage, where it's really dramatized. You saw Mbappe walking out then to the kind of the middle of the tunnel bit before they all walk out. There's a theatre about it, and I think that is what sport needs. Today will be no doubt the same, with two flags draped across the pitch, the national anthems. Can you imagine? I mean, I remember how it felt as a young kid in 1998, 12 years of age. Are you coming back from Mosque? I think we were a goal down. Shearer then tucks away the penalty. Then arguably still one of the greatest goals that I've, not in terms of technique or anything like that, but just in terms of how I felt at the time, that this young 18-year-old, I think it was at the time, Michael Owen scores this incredible goal. I just remember how impressionable that goal was on a young boy who obviously was absolutely loving football at the time. And this is it. This is now, it's kind of come around full circle, an opportunity to punch your ticket to the World Cup final. I can't underestimate, I can't understate the enormity of what this game represents. I mean, England have been at this stage before, albeit a couple of World Cups ago, when they should have punched their ticket against a very good Croatia team, to be fair. But this would be an opportunity for the first time since '66 to compete, contest a World Cup final. And there is a wonderful symmetry because Spain, I believe, have only ever got to one World Cup final as well, at one that they obviously won. This would be England's second trip, I believe, to the World Cup final as well. So there's beautiful symmetry there. But yeah, listen, incredible opportunity, Ayub. Like I said, both teams have flaws. England haven't played their best.
Mm.
Some would argue Argentina have, at least from an offensive point of view. I think offensively they've been what they would expect themselves to be. Messi at the controls of most of everything good that they do offensively. I thought he dragged them from the abyss I mentioned against Egypt. I really did. He was staring down the barrel. And that's what the great ones do. You they say, no, not on my watch, and that's what Messi did, at least in that particular game. Yes, they've been, I want to say, fortuitous. I don't want to go too far into the conspiracy theories. There's definitely a storyline there, I guess. But I think for the most part, there has been some drama surrounding their game, some controversies. They've just about kept their heads above water, haven't they? You've been in some of these
Mm.
games where they've managed to just get through. They've got incredible players. I mean, they've got a litany of talent across that team, but it is a flawed team. It's a team that plays very committed, intense, lots of running. I expect today to be quite a tough battle. I think England will have to meet them from a dueling perspective. I think they'll be really intense. I think the referee will have to keep an eye on certain things, making sure that it doesn't get carried away and that it doesn't lose the spectacle, doesn't lose a little bit of its quality. I think that's something definitely to keep an eye on. And what have you. But yeah, just first, from a first stanza perspective, where you've been very keen to hear your thoughts about the country's mood, generally workplace, discussions around the old water cooler and what have you. Yeah, it feels like a huge, huge game. I felt the enormity of it all day at work, very much been distracted by it, the opportunity to watch England. I'll be on me Todd, which is
Mm.
would have been nice to have had some family and friends to watch. A wonderful occasion, but yeah, should be a fantastic game of you. And again, opportunities for both teams, I think, to punch their ticket to the World Cup final. Just from your perspective, you you've obviously watched England a lot over the years. You've not struck me as a huge, in a sense, England kind of passionate and all the rest of it,
Mm.
but I imagine that this has definitely, you know, got you. Let's say in terms of the passion and what have you. How does it feel? What's the rhetoric been like? What's the narrative been like? Friends, family. This definitely feels like a huge occasion.
It is. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted it to be because I've talked about there's a lot of division within society, especially within England. So this is something that sort of brings people together because it's a talking point. This is the one commonality. And
Yeah.
especially with my suppliers, it's a constant conversation with the suppliers. When we do the introductions first, it's always about England, especially sort of over the last couple of days since we've got to the semi-final. So it's been a talking point. So it's something which sort of binds and bonds a lot of the country. The country obviously is very much in sort of World Cup mode in this semi-final mode. Uh, I watched the quarterfinal. It was just myself and my sort of wife watching the game. I mean, it was a 10 o'clock kickoff in the UK, so I presume obviously for you it must have been a
Mm.
1 o'clock kickoff. But it was fantastic because it was a very, very pleasant, very nice summer's evening. So the windows were open. We've got sort of neighbours across the road who were watching it. I presume outside because I could hear them. And there was obviously a number of other neighbours who were watching it with windows open. So you could hear sort of conversations in a distance. And that sort of the euphoria when England
Mm.
scored because it's you could hear cheers in various households. I mean, even though it's on terrestrial TV, some people obviously must have been watching it on something which had quite a lag because I sort of cheered, and maybe 15 seconds later I had another cheer. So I'm not sure what sort of TV they were watching it or what sort of where they were watching it, but it's been fantastic. I mean, that's really what for me is making this World Cup so special. And you're right. England isn't some. I mean, it's not. I don't follow international football that passionately, But I have this tournament, and it is for the reasons that I've articulated before, that it means a lot more. It's just more than a game of football. There is much more riding on England at this moment, and that's the reason why I'm so involved, so passionate, so committed, and so nervous, because it the thought of a defeat is something that I do not want to contemplate, because I don't know what the repercussions will be, because I think there's such a good mood in the office as well. I mean, not everybody is talking about it. I suppose it depends on who you work with,
Mm.
but certainly amongst the people who follow football, it's a talking point. I mean, as I was walking out, the remark is it coming home? Is it coming home? That's what everybody's
Yeah,
sort of saying. So really, there's a really nice sort of vibe. Everybody's looking forward to it. People talking about where they're going to watch the game. I'm going to be watching it at home. I think that's the best place for me, because I'll get far too nervous if I'm watching it elsewhere. But wonderful. I'm sort of quietly optimistic, because I don't think England have played at the top of the game. I mean, there was a little fallout. I think
mm,
the press were a little bit naughty in the UK, because what happened was Tuchel. They took a comment that Tuchel had
yeah,
made, that he wasn't happy, and what they said to Bellingham is that Tuchel's not happy with the performance. And obviously, it's out of context. He's
yeah,
talking overall. So I think it sort of brought a reaction from Bellingham, and the press sort of made much more of it than they should have.
yeah,
But I think the players are relying. I think the key is Bellingham. Obviously, is absolutely key. But I think another player that needs to be fit is Rice, who clearly wasn't match fit the last game, and you could tell by the
yeah,
performance. Because it was certainly an underpar performance, but it was understandable, because apparently he'd been in bed for 3 days with an illness. So that's very, very important. We've got uh, all the gun players, and by gun, I certainly mean Bellingham and Rice. Uh, Kane is Harry Kane, but I do expect a slightly improved performance, because I think that performance against Norway was very much below what the expectation is, and I can understand the frustrations of Tuchel, because we've got much. I mean, the players are much better than that, so I hope they've saved it for today. It's a tricky opponent. It's an
yeah,
opponent which has obviously got Messi, but this is not a primetime Messi. This is a Messi who's nearly 40 years of age. They've got certainly good players in that team, but it's a team that is beatable. I do have concerns. I mean, you're a little bit more diplomatic. I'm certainly going to call it. I think there is plans afoot to try and sort of make sure Argentina get to the final. So England have to be. I mean, they have to almost score the perfect goal, a goal which is cannot be in any way sort of doubtful. So it's there's going to be a lot of obstacles for England, uh, but I hope that they've saved the performance of a lifetime. Well, maybe sort of a lifetime today, but then again on Saturday. But certainly today, it's going to need everything in their powers. Players are going to be on top of their game, and I think we've got a more than good enough team and squad to overcome this Argentinian side. So
yeah,
I'm quietly confident, quietly optimistic. I can't wait. I'm chomping at the bit for the game to start, because it's going to be a thriller. Over
yeah.
to you.
Uh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it feels massive, and just on, I mean, you spoke about the post game interviews and what have you. I watched the game with a friend of mine. We went for a bite to eat. I think it was Saturday night. We then watched the game together here, and yeah, it was a good experience watching it with him. And yes, the interviews were. I mean, it was a bit of drama, which is never a bad thing. I think maybe perhaps as we've aged, we take these things with a pinch of salt, but. I mean, straight away, my initial reaction was, this is what we want. We want authenticity. We want
Mm,
characters. We don't want vanilla interviews. I can understand what Tuchel's coming from. He's always been a manager who's wanted the best in terms of he has high standards. England haven't quite been at it, and they're at the semi-final stage of a World Cup. They've had, I would argue, a relatively uh, kind of not saying easy, but teams that they should be beating. Let's be very
mm,
clear up until this moment where you'd assume that it's a bit of a 50-50 game with Argentina perhaps having the edge just in terms of sheer kind of having been there, done it. I mean, that does win you a lot more kind of, let's say, equity when it comes to kind of the betting stakes and what have you. But yeah, listen, I love the comments from both. I think Tuchel was absolutely right. You're right. It was a little bit naughty, I think, from Gabriel Clark in terms of. I think, listen, I love him as an interviewer. I think he's very good. He's got that
mm,
wonderful voice. He does a lot of pre-game stuff for Champions League as well. Um, And listen, it was a very game, very hot. That's what I think Bellingham was referring to. That it was a bit of a shift, I think was the word that he used. I'm okay with both. I mean, they're both incredible at what they do. One's a top coach, one's a top player. This is how it should be. There should be a little bit of edge, authenticity. We don't just want it vanilla, as I mentioned, Ayub. So I've got no qualms whatsoever with what both of them said. If it means that they are driving England in terms of raising their standards and punching that ticket to the World Cup final, this is how it should be. There should be challenging characters. I think about, again, one of the most famous, successful teams that you and I often speak about, the famous Australian cricket team. I mean, they weren't
Mm.
kind of, I mean, think about some of the characters there. I'm sure they had many a challenging discussion in terms
Yeah.
of pushing each other and McGraw, Warren, Ponting, and all the rest of it. It's what you need. You need characters to keep pushing the standards ever higher. Listen, I just think it's just an incredible opportunity. It'll be interesting to see what lineup Tuchel goes for. Does he risk Reece James, who came on, obviously? Does he risk him from the beginning, or does he think he'll give me a little bit more? Maybe this game could go to extra time. So you've got to probably factor that in as well. Does he risk a start with Saka? He probably has to. Madueke was really poor in the last game. Saka has been struggling with Achilles tendonitis. Rice, as you mentioned, he was in bed with food poisoning for the best part. I could tell from the
Yeah.
beginning. I mean, I saw one of the, forget the set pieces, the fact that he didn't beat the first man. That's nothing. I saw one of his run ups to one of those set pieces, and I thought his run ups off. He's not even putting
Yeah.
his body into it. In terms of how he normally attacks the ball with a bit of verve and delivers that ball with a bit of devilish
Mm.
quality. But he gave it a go. He wasn't ready for it. I mean, I think he's going to be good to go. I think it'd be a huge goal if he doesn't risk him. It's a World Cup semi-final. Knowing the characters I do, I mean, in terms of having seen him for Arsenal, he's
Mm.
put his body on the line time in, time out. I think he'll play. I think Tuchel will be looking to play his best team. Again, critical decisions around if he plays James or Spence. Does he go with Concern Gay, or does he get Stones in for what is a huge game, which at least John Stones has played plenty of
Yeah.
for England and for Manchester City? So some big calls for Tuchel to make. I just think it's one of those where England are going to have to raise their performance. This is
Yeah.
another level altogether from some of the teams that they've been playing. And England, if they're below par, they won't be going through, because it's going to take everything and then some to get past this Argentina team. One game at a time. I don't think it's one that you want to look ahead to in terms of World Cup final, but semi-final. And can you imagine? I mean, right now, I mean, it's midweek, so some of your kind of interactions will be somewhat tempered. But if England make it through to a World Cup final, which I believe is to be played on Sunday at 11 o'clock at night, for us, 8 p.m., I
Mm.
believe, in the UK, I mean, the days leading up to that game will receive fanfare and anticipation and commentary like you've not seen before for many years. I mean, how do you see it? Prediction time, Ayub, and then perhaps just a little bit of a look ahead to what it could mean for the nation with a few days to go before a final. Prediction time for yourself. How do you see it going? I felt a certain scoreline for the longest time, but go on, I'll give you first dibs on this.
I mean, I'll just sort of cover some of the elements that you talked about, and certainly in terms of team selection. I mean, this is where I suppose Tuchel earns his cross, because it's
Yeah.
some difficult choices to make. Uh, but you're right about. I mean, Rice has to play. I mean, even a three quarters fit Rice uh, certainly has to start. Now, maybe if obviously it's just not working, then bring him off. But certainly, we have to have the strongest 11. I mean, uh, it's one where we have to be on top of our game. Everybody has to sort of perform. There's players that perhaps not performed for various reasons. It could be in Saka's case. I think Saka's been quite average, quite ordinary. He's sort of carrying an injury, but these are criticisms that will be then raised because I mean I'm not sure whether he sort of he entered the tournament with a niggle with some sort of injury concerns, but this is where you need players to be absolutely fit, match fit. You can carry maybe one or two players, but you can't be carrying sort of three or four or five, which is if if he picks Rice, if he picks Saka, there's already two players who obviously there's question marks. But it's just one of these games where adrenaline alone has to carry you. I think if you've got an injury, maybe it's just such a huge game that really you'll probably forget about the injury afterwards. You can worry about it. It's one where it this is, as I said, I don't know whether for the players, whether it
Mm.
means the same, but for me, this is more than just a game of football. There's so much riding on this, the hopes of a nation, and this is almost where, you know, that if we progress to the final, I mean, these next few days are just going to be. I mean, I can't even imagine what the
Yeah,
feelings are going to be because. To get to a semi-final is an achievement. To get to a World Cup final, I mean, these are not things that happen to England that often. I mean, we've had talented sides in the past, but it's not happened. I mean, this would be the would be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, am I sort of missing something? Would this be the first final in 60 years, or have we made it to a
yeah.
final
No,
before?
we haven't made it to
Yeah,
a
yeah,
World Cup
yeah, yeah,
final.
yeah. So obviously, this is something which has not happened for 60 years. It I I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm just almost anticipating the feelings for the next few days. Looking forward to that Sunday. What I don't want to do is play that ridiculous fixture
Yeah,
on a Saturday where it's for that third spot. Where I mean, to me, it's just the most ridiculous thing, and I wish they'd scrapped it because I don't think any of the teams want to play. I think fans are not
yeah,
interested. I don't
yeah,
care who finishes third. It's about one and two. Huge, huge levels of excitement. I mean, it just is. As I said, there is that sort of in the pit of my stomach that thought that if we don't win, I can't even contemplate how I'm going to feel and what the next few days are going to be like. But uh, I hope the players that we want to be starting are fit enough and are able to put in a performance that is worthy of a semi-final. As I said, Rice was just nowhere near. I mean, it was probably the worst I've seen of Rice, but I can
yeah,
understand why. I mean,
yeah,
he's bless him for attempting to at least sort of play the game, but he just wasn't at it. I was very impressed with Spence when he came on. Maybe that perhaps is Spence's strongest position in the sense that he comes in on the sub. He's got tremendous amounts of pace.
yeah,
Uh, Obviously, this game is not going to be affected by the heat because the air conditioning is going to be on. But he's certainly a player that when legs are tired, you don't want
yeah.
somebody like Spence coming in. So it will be interesting to see what starting lineup Tuchel goes for. I just hope that every player is on top of their game because I think if they are, England win this game.
Uh, you've not given us a prediction yet, you.
Oh yeah, that's
We're waiting.
that's my sort of sort of politician in me. Right.
Yes.
Uh 3-1 England. 3-1 England.
3-1 England.
Yeah, yeah. I mean I'm just saying it because it's just a comfortable scoreline. So
Yeah.
it's more wishful thinking, but I'll go 3-1.
Yeah, absolutely, Ayub. And just very quickly before I give you my prediction, Ayub, I mean, you're right. I mean, this is legacy defining for all of these players, this coach. England is a power nation when it comes to football. Yes, they haven't won the World Cup since '66, but they are one of the powerhouses in terms of football. They host the most watched league, domestic league in the world in terms of football slash soccer. And look, it ultimately legacy defining. We've spoken about this many times. That you sports tells stories, and when you've got stories to tell, that's what brings eyeballs and narratives and attention. And attention is what drives this kind of interest and drama and piques everybody's interest. So look, I just think when you think about what some of these players are playing for, can you imagine? I mean, if Bellingham has two more incredible games of football for England, does he go down as well? He does go down probably already
Mm.
as one of our greatest players ever in terms of delivering potential World Cup. Again, this is way too far, but just in terms of his performances, think about Harry Kane as captain. I mean, the coach. There's so much at play here. I mean, this is probably Kane's. I'm not going to say his last World Cup, but in terms of him being arguably the best striker in Europe, you would imagine he's not going to be that in 4 years' time with the next World
Mm.
Cup is played. It'll still be pretty handy, I think, in 2 years' time when the European Championships are held. Yes, there's some players who should go from strength to strength. Bellingham, Rice is still in his pomp. Anderson should get better. Rogers should get better. Saka should get better. So the team in a lot of key positions is still young. Nico O'Reilly, even Gay, he can come again. I think Pickford's still good for a couple of games, a couple of major tournaments. So there's still a lot for this England team in a sense to look forward to. But when you're in the knockings of a semi-final of a World Cup, the same I spoke about when Arsenal win the Champions League final. I mean, those are not guaranteed, so you've got to find a way to punch your ticket. I'm going to go 2-2, Ayub. I think it's going to go to penalties.
Oh no,
I'm not sure
no,
how your ticker is going to be able to take that.
no,
But
no.
I've got a feeling it's going to be 2-2. I think it's going to be an incredible game. I think it's going to be a dramatic game. I think there's going to be some
Mm.
real drama. I think there's going to be a lot of incidents to get your teeth into tomorrow morning. Let's say I think the papers will be running wild tomorrow with lots of storylines. It has to. I mean, this game feels like it has to deliver. But yeah, 2-2 penalty shootout. I'm not sure how it's going to go. I just hope for one time that England are on the right side of this one. I mean, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Final word to you, Ayub. Just in terms of England World Cup, do you see this as, I'm not saying their last chance because you can come again. I mean, these competitions, England will always qualify for these major tournaments, but do you see this as one that they just have to find a way, whatever it takes? An improved performance is necessary given England's standards so
Mm.
far, but do you think, look, the boys just have to find a way to deliver ultimately because, yeah, nobody's going to remember who lost in the semi-finals and the World Cup final, the glory, the lure, the attention, the focus, the drama, the event. England need to be a part of that. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not to sort of say they're not going to sort of challenge again going forward, but it's almost a bit like the Arsenal story because when they kept missing out, you need to get it over the line because I think this is one where I think if they do, there is enough young players in there, the
Yeah,
confidence that will give England for future tournaments because it is about sort of winning. I think once you win a tournament, you have that mindset that we can do it because we've done it before. So there is uh so much at stake because we've been close. Uh,
yeah,
before, and it's just the talent is there, the quality is there, and it just would be so fitting. Because Bellingham has been just absolutely outstanding, and it made me think when he was such an outstanding player on that last game. I remember him playing for Birmingham as a 16-year-old, and then obviously he's gone on to sort of bigger things at that time, and they retired the shirt, and there was a lot of sort of people who were sort of mocking that this is a young kid, you're retiring the shirt. But anybody who knew about football knew the potential of this kid. He was something special. He was a boy in a man's league, but he had a man's physique. He's always been very, very sort of in terms of physicality. He's always been able to sort of stand up to the rigors of the league, and that was at championship level. I
yeah,
remember there was a famous game between Leeds and Birmingham, 5-4. We won at the last knock-ins. It was such a dramatic game, but he was outstanding. And he was 16-year-old. And he was, and I knew, I mean, I'm not going to sort of say that I predicted it, but I knew this guy was a super special talent because what he was showing, and there was something about his personality as well, because that's always something that I look at, not just the ability, but does he have a personality that
yeah,
maybe will take him to the next level? And he certainly had that. And I do remember those at Birmingham were absolutely eulogizing, singing his praises, and the retiring of the shirt. It seemed over dramatic, but I knew at the time that there's a reason why they've done that because there is something very special about this kid. And Jude Bellingham hasn't disappointed. He's at Real Madrid for a reason, and I think it would be so fitting that if we win the World Cup, Kane's the captain, but it would be so nice that obviously the praise would be very fitting that it would be going to Bellingham because he's such a role model. I think he's a fantastic role model, and it just would be the perfect icing on the cake that really the person that sort of led us to the World Cup is Bellingham, and it would be the right message that this is the type of character that you need to be, and this is the type of character that's won us the World Cup. He's a damn fine player, but he's a superb human being, and really, it will be wonderful for me.
yeah. Absolutely. Just very quickly, you saw the scenes at the end of you when he was taking in the song sung by the English fans, the rendition of "Hey Jude." He's watching himself with his, just like you did there, his collar up after the Norway game, and he was just taking it all in, wasn't he? And it
Yeah,
was quite a beautiful thing because he watched himself on the big screen jumbotron and what have you. And all the English fans singing "Hey Jude." It's just beautiful,
yeah,
goosebump stuff. He
yeah.
delivers for England time and time again, and you absolutely would not be surprised if England are down in the dumps today that it's Jude Bellingham who
Mm,
somehow finds a moment, a situation.
mm,
Because there's one thing about that lad, and you mentioned about the Leeds game, but you Wayne Rooney spoken about it when Wayne Rooney finished off his career at Derby about how Bellingham did a bit of a man marking job on him, and he was putting in some serious challenges, and he wouldn't even make eye contact with him, and he could tell this
mm.
young lad had something about him. That little bit of healthy arrogance that I think you need is,
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, it's no coincidence that he went from Dortmund to Real Madrid to now playing in World Cup semi-finals with the nation's hopes
yeah,
resting. You mentioned about Kane, you being the captain, but there's no doubt who the talisman is
yeah,
when it comes to England and their hopes tonight. It is Jude Bellingham, and on someone so young, that's quite a burden. But that
yeah,
I don't think his shoulders. I think they're broad enough to be able to
yeah.
handle that. He carries himself with a certain air, which I think you need at the highest level to succeed. So yeah, incredible game, Ayub. Should be fantastic. Before we sign off, Ayub, with just very shortly, just going to have a quick chat about yesterday's game, Ayub. Two heavyweights, Spain against France. Huge build-up. A country that's close to your heart, France. They were the tournament favourites. Spain had shown, however, throughout the competition, Ayub, that they were pretty much their equals if you watch the games closely. The game was an incredible performance. I'm going to let you speak about it first, very, very quickly, Ayub. How did you see the game? And were you, I mean, I imagine you were somewhat shocked slash surprised at the way the game transpired. 2-0 to Spain, punching their ticket to the World Cup final. What did you make of the game itself?
It was a mouth-watering prospect. The game certainly I was really looking forward to, and I really wanted uh, I wanted to sort of see these players that we've been sort of waxing lyrical about. Mbappe. I mean, the Holy Trinity. I mean, it's one of the finest front three that you can imagine in world football. What an anticlimax! What a disappointment! I mean, I was very, very annoyed because this is what we always talk about, that top class sport. It's cometh the hour, cometh the player, cometh the man. I mean, we've talked about Bellingham. We've just talked about how he's responded to the responsibility, to the occasion. This was in complete contrast. I mean, this was just the most awful performance. I mean, if you didn't know about football, you'd think this is a mediocre team. I mean, you'd almost sort of think this is sort of DR Congo, one of these lesser teams. Dembele, Mbappe. I mean, there wasn't even any moments of brilliance. I mean, you could sometimes sort of say that, right, Mbappe's had a quiet game, but there was a couple of flashes of brilliance. There was absolutely nothing. And in the end, it was almost the resignation. They threw in the towel. Very, very disappointing. Credit to Spain, though. I thought they had a game plan. They stifled very much the opposition, but really I expected a lot better from France, and really as tournament favourites, they went out with a whimper and a sad end for Didier Deschamps, who's been one of the longest serving international managers. He's overseen a number of trophies, a number of magnificent performances. He had the tools at his disposal, but they let him down. I mean, I say they let him down. Maybe I suppose he has to take some responsibility because that was a shocker. And there was no a 2-0 was in a sense it in nowhere flattered Spain. I think they should have probably won even more comfortably. There was a couple of moments. One thing certainly was I've been surprised why David Raya is not number one, and I think there's a reason why, because I think that keeper is outstanding. I've got to be honest. I'd not heard of him before. His reading of the game, there was a couple of times
Yeah,
where he's sort of very advanced. You think, oh right, Mbappe's through, but then suddenly in shot comes this keeper, who either heads it, kicks it, does something.
yeah.
But overall, Spain were worthy winners, and they're going to be a worthy opposition to anybody who's played in that final, because they've got quality, but they're very workmanlike as well when it needs to be. But they've got a little bit of sprinkling of stardust as well, especially with Yamal. I mean, Yamal and he had a quiet game. I thought he had quite a quiet game, but there was an occasional flash of brilliance.
Mm.
But he didn't need to be on top of his games, because in the middle of the park, this was the Rolls Royce that we know Rodri to be. So disappointed with France. Spain were deserving winners.
I'm thinking about some of the biggest games that I've watched. I'm talking high stakes between two really good teams. I'm thinking back to Real Madrid against Juventus in the Champions League final at Wales. I think it was Millennium Stadium when Mandzukic scored that goal. Ronaldo scored a brace, I believe. I'm thinking back to some of the Champions League between Real Madrid and Liverpool. But, again, I'm talking more just the big games where the two teams go absolute head to head for the highest stakes. But in all my time, I cannot remember a game that was built up to this extent between two heavyweights fighting for, yes, a final probably would have been more fitting in terms of the absolute pinnacle, but for a semi-final, that was probably definitely top three performance that I've seen from a team in my lifetime. And I'm not exaggerating, just in terms of stakes, the opponent, the build-up, what you'd expect, and the level. I mean, you use that word, they threw the towel in. I mean, to use, I guess, a little bit of American verbiage, which is where the games are being played, they snatched their hearts, they snatched their souls from them. I mean, the way they were moving the ball around, that midfield trio of Fabian Ruiz, Rodri, Dani Olmo, the rotation and their technical
Mm,
proficiency, Ayub, the quickness of feet, so light, just the rotations, constantly filling in of gaps, reading of the play. I mean, Rodri, to your point, that was as an incredible a performance I've seen from a
mm,
central midfielder for a long, long time. And if Spain deliver a World Cup, that gentleman could somehow be winning two Ballon d'Ors. Yes, he didn't have the most decorated season for City, but what I've seen, that he's gone up in many levels. He's back to the Rodri that we
mm.
know and
Yeah.
love in terms of that standard. Incredible footballer, had a wonderful, wonderful game. But yeah, just in terms of overall performance, your team, the collective, the organization, the play,
Mm,
everything in sync. Nothing seemed strayed, nothing seemed stretched, nothing seemed as though they were hoping to make things happen. No, everything was knitted together so beautifully. Everybody moving together, coordinated movements. The centre backs pressing when they needed to supporting when they needed to. The midfield pressing up when they needed to. Yamal working hard defensively and
mm,
offensively. Won the penalty, and France just. I think before the penalty, it was relatively even. I would say. I think it was very difficult to tell who was going to get the first goal, and often is the case that you have the first goal goes a long way to deciding these games. And it's such a huge error from the left back, Digne. I mean, you cannot do that, not at this level. It's so slow. I still think it was a handball. Don't want to get into that too much. If I look at it where the ball hit him on the hand, Yamal, it's just above his elbow. For me, that's a handball. He gets an advantage from putting his arm there to try and get ahead of Digne. But listen, the defending is so
mm,
poor. If you can't get your shoulder around and you're going to try and hook that ball as slowly as he did, I mean, you're
yeah.
asking for trouble,
Yeah.
especially when you've got arguably the best player in the world playing on your side. I mean, you've got to just anticipate that much better. Then, from an Arsenal point of view, you huge moment. He's been suffering with a back
Mm,
issue all season and all tournament long. There was some talk before the tournament started, for those who were following, that he was going to have a back operation before the World Cup. That would have ruled him out for the World Cup, much to his credit, as is often the case with many of these players, where they're probably just fighting through lots of
mm,
fatigue, injuries, and he's got a back issue. And for him to crumple in a heap. I was watching that thinking, goodness me, this boy's about to have a surgery. God knows how long he's going to be out. He's not a quitter.
mm.
He's
Yeah.
a Rolls Royce of a defender. Everyone said, I believe he was on his way to being established as the best centre back in Europe. That's just my opinion. I think he was fantastic. I still think there's a chance they would have got back into the game with him on the pitch. He exudes
Mm,
calmness. The first goal wasn't his fault. I mean, that's just is what
mm,
it is. I think they would have had a much, much, much better chance because he's so good in one-on-one situations, which meant France could have then gone, let's say, a little bit more pressing aggressively because he wins everything one-on-one. He clears
yeah.
everything up. He never gets beaten. And I think that sucked the fight out of them a little bit. They were 1-0 down. I think they weren't panicking. But then you lose Saliba to what looks like a very difficult injury. It's not just, I mean, to see him crumple, like I said, it was just the way
Mm,
he just went down on the floor as though I can't do it. He was heard to say, my back's gone, my back's gone. And that's a real issue for Arsenal, obviously, and for France as well. But I think it was at that moment I realized, oh, they're in trouble. Lacroix, I mean, he's a decent player, but he's not on Saliba's level. And you saw France then, Ayub, become quite stretched, quite fraught with playing with fire in terms of some of the gaps at the back. You see the second goal, Ayub. I mean, that's just poor
mm,
defending to let him waltz in. Yes, it's a
yeah.
great play from Spain. But yeah, from a Spanish perspective, Ayub, I'm not even sure I want to get to the final because that team there, I'm telling you, I mean, they will be strong favourites. I don't care who they're playing. England, Argentina, Spain are a cut above. Absolutely cut
Mm.
above. That was as good a performance as I've seen in a long, long time. Much credit to Spain. Much credit to that coach who I don't think has lost a competitive game for Spain in God knows how long, if at all. I mean, that's an incredible, incredible achievement. So yeah, listen, Spain, strong favourites, much credit. A couple of Arsenal boys in there as well, but huge, huge performances from Rodri, Danny Olmo. Just again, the collective unit. You mentioned the goalkeeper, fantastic. They're blessed with three amazing goalkeepers that they've taken to this World Cup as well. But yeah, they'll take some beating. They've got the 1 day advantage as well. Today could be one of those slobber knockers here where it's just they're kicking lumps out of one another, and what have you. It feels that type of game, to be honest, England and Argentina. It doesn't feel like it's going to be perhaps the same grace
Mm.
as we saw yesterday, let's say from Spain.
Yeah.
This feels like it's going to be a battle of wills, I think, tonight in terms of who goes through. But whoever goes through, they've got an uphill task, if you ask me, in terms of the final. Spain, incredible, incredible, incredible. Final word on England. Just hope they do it, mate. Just really, really hope that they do it. Final word to you.
Yeah, same. It's this. I mean, we it's sort of often joked about, but there's 60 years of hurt. I mean, this is. I mean, there's a backdrop to this story as well. Obviously, it's like England, Argentina. So, there's a history. I
Yeah.
mean, there's the Falklands War, and I think thereafter there's always been a little bit of spice. You've got obviously the famous, infamous Beckham incident as well, Simeone. There's a lot of sort of narrative around this game. It's a huge game. It's a must-win game. Simple as that. I mean, as I said, I don't want to contemplate, but uh, I'm hoping for the best. The prayer mats are out. I've told a lot of those with faith. Look, I know it's not something that we should be, but just slip one in. It's we want to leave no stone unturned. So hopefully the Almighty is looking down. He's not happy with what's happening with Argentina, so he gives England the thumbs up. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it is coming home after. I mean, we use that as a bit of a joke. To be fair, I think England fans run with it now as well. Is it coming home? Is it coming home?
Yeah,
And subject to a lot of ridicule from fans around the world. Yeah, like I said, it's an occasion like no other. It
no.
feels somewhat surreal, like I said, to be watching a World Cup semi-final on me Todd halfway around the world. But so be it. These are the choices
Mm.
we all make. It should be an incredible, incredible game. And like I said, I think come 1 o'clock local time, 2 o'clock local time, maybe God knows, obviously maybe 10 p.m., 11 p.m. for yourselves. I think you might have lost a stone in weight, Ayub. So maybe some good will come of it because I just think it's going to be one of. I just think it's going to be
Mm.
one of those games. Hopefully, England can do it.
Yeah, it's about savoring it. All right, okay. So, as always an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your thoughts. And the viewers as well, absolutely appreciate you sort of watching in, tuning in. And this is going to be a massive, massive evening for England. Hopefully, me and Owis are shooting on Friday because that probably will mean that we're in the final. Because if we're not in the final, I ain't shooting nothing. All right, okay. So, until the next time, hopefully Friday, as we would sort of say, inshallah, on Friday, we'll sort of see you then. Take care. Ta-da for now.